Jeffrey, you got a millage coming up in Dalton.
We do, a fire millage. And so what I want to happen with this is I want the debate to happen throughout the community.
Okay.
And it is starting to happen somewhat on Facebook, which is not necessarily a mentally healthy way for humans to communicate. Nevertheless, it is happening there. So hopefully people are debating it at their homes, with their families, when they go out to eat at Overboard or Full Moon or any of those places.
Sure.
And see if they agree with it. And the basic debate is we need to do an operating millage renewal. And I'm doing it a couple of years early because I'm also asking for an increase. And the idea there is to add a few full-time firefighters. And last year we broke 1,000 calls for the first time in Dalton history. Now that has gone down a little bit because it's like the stock market. It goes up and down, but overall it's trending up. And there's less interest in future generations for joining something like a fire department. I asked all the 8th graders, both this year and last year, when I did some sessions there, and almost no one is interested in that type of work anymore. And so...
Now, wait a second.
Yeah.
One of the arguments that I have heard over the years is that why are we hiring all these expensive firemen in various cities, full-time folks who, for the most part, are standing around, they're training and things of that sort, but there aren't that many fires, and there really aren't that many, times where they're called out. When volunteer fire departments are fabulous, they're inexpensive, and they're available anywhere. But what you're suggesting is, because when we were kids back 100 years ago, you want to be a fireman, you want to be a policeman, you want to
Everyone thought about
an astronaut once that became available. But the kids aren't interested in volunteer fire department work any longer.
That's right. And so we have a paid on-call fire department. That's what we have. We have a full-time chief. Everyone else is paid on-call. And they do very well. We have good equipment, and they do a lot of training every other Wednesday. They cut apart a car or do an ice rescue training. They do a bunch. I've been to a lot of the trainings. And they do really well. Our response time is 6-7 minutes to a call. That's so response time is very good. And we have M120. We have Whitehall. We have US 31 that go through Dalton. And so we have a lot of major crashes for pin-ins, and so they do well at that type of thing. And I was a little surprised, actually, when I was talking to the 8th graders, but they're more interested in professional video game player. Wasn't a career option not that many years ago. Artificial intelligence prompt designer wasn't a thing. A year ago, 2 years ago? Now it's a job. And so I think some of that has changed it. You can still get people that are interested in the full-time positions, but the paid on call I see going down. Now, that's part of the debate is there aren't that many fires. There are other hazardous conditions like gas leaks and down power lines that we want the fire department at as well. And there's pin-ins for cars. I think everyone agrees we want fire at that. But the fire department runs a lot of medical calls. And so I think that is largely the debate is should you just have ambulance companies going to medical calls? In our area, they're getting slower and slower. I think it's important for the fire department to cover. But I think that's kind of the key. And I'm asking for 0.85 mils, right? That's the increase. And the way the Headley Amendment from the 1970s, which I completely disagree with almost all tax laws at almost every level, is weirdly structured because it's set up like a percentage. And I think if you set it up as a percentage and you left it there and it increased as you had more businesses and more people and more houses, then you wouldn't need to have these repeating votes on millages. But because those roll back, it sets us back a little bit. And so you have to see these millage votes every now and then.
All right.
Well, that is a really good debate, too. I mean, it's a debate on, because obviously it somewhat dictates long-term house insurances.
It does. It changes the prices.
And property values.
It does.
It's one of these kinds of things that you look at and saying, who looks at those response times and who looks at insurance companies do.
They do. Your ISO rating is affected.
So,
well, let's get specific here. A couple things. You mentioned the millage that when you say you are requesting, you're the township supervisor, and this is for the township of Dalton. Okay,
correct.
So this is Dalton only. It's an individual. The only people who can legally vote would be residents.
Correct. Electors of the township.
Okay, and this vote will happen when?
August 8th. So this is on the August ballot.
Primary.
And this
Of
was
this year.
Of this year.
Oh, this year.
And this was approved by the entire board. You're correct. So it's a board decision. We have two resolutions, one for the renewal, one for the increase. Those happen on the meeting on March 13th. All those meetings are recorded on YouTube. They're posted on YouTube. The entire meeting packet is posted on our website. So everyone can read the entire resolution. They can hear the entire conversation. It's all public.
All right. And if you have no life, I suggest you go there and spend some time listening to that. But we have a real person here, so let's get some specific answers. I've done that, by the way, because I have no life, and it's awful. So listen now while we got the expert. This is a renewal, or is this an increase from the past?
So it is both. There will be two things on the ballot. One is a renewal for the rate that the millage currently is.
Are these two separate items then?
They're two separate items. They have to legally be two separate items.
Okay, can I hold you there for just 1 second? One of the reasons that this, I believe, is of import to people who are listening, who are saying, wait a minute, they're talking about a millage in Dalton. These kinds of conversations are going to be coming up probably every 3 months for the rest of your life here in West Michigan. We have two millages coming up in May, shortly, minimum here in Norton Shore. So wherever you live within Muskegon County or West Michigan, you're going to be seeing millages, and fire rescue is going to be one of those kinds of things that you want to think of. And there are differences between a renewal and an increase. So in your case, you're asking for two specific items that people will see on the ballot.
Correct. Yep.
And again, these are low turnout elections,
generally,
so that all the firemen supporters are going to get their families and their supporters out to vote yes. And there'll be, I'm sure, another probably quite a bit smaller group that will be out there and say, well, we're going to vote no, or that sadly, the vast majority of people in a May or an August election will not vote whatsoever. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that's why this is important.
It's a good point, and and it comes up for everyone on a bunch of different issues, right? I mean, we see things for schools, we see things for the senior millage for the entire county. And all these should be debated. That's why I like getting information out about them. And this vote hasn't happened for the fire operating millage in Dalton Township since 2005,
really?
Right? And so you're trying to operate off of 2005 budget numbers, essentially, and it's been a long time, right? It's been a couple of decades.
Well, the inflationary numbers are kind of out of whack, too.
Yes, in fire trucks. Yeah. Because we bought a couple of fire trucks. Now there is an equipment millage in Dalton Township, and so that helps a lot with that. But the inflation on those fire trucks has been it's been like college debt. Oh, sure. It's been through the roof. Huge increases. But I think that the debate is happening, and I think, 0.85 mils seems like a reasonable amount to me. Now, that'll generate about an additional $239,000 per year.
Okay, now, we are talking about a renewal, which most of the time, a renewal is, okay, we voted yes for this before, it was X millage, but now the value of the property, as anybody knows who pays property taxes, has gone up. So it is not like the revenue that is generated from the earlier millage has been stable or even gone down. It's actually gone up a particular amount.
Correct. It goes up a particular amount, but that Headley Amendment from the 1970s, it's a weird Michigan state law. So as it was passed in 2005, it was 1.5 mils. Now that operating millage is down to 1.14 mils.
Okay. So
and so it decreases to attempt to adjust for inflation. So instead of being on a purely percentage basis, they essentially try to lower the percentage over the years, which is a weird philosophy. Nevertheless, that's the way the laws are set up.
Okay, we got to come to a break right now. Again, we're dissecting a millage vote, but these are the kinds of issues that we're going to have to look at going forward across the board. And the second part of your millage is an increase. And my question has always been, if you're a parent or someone comes to you, your business owner in particular, and says, I would like to spend more of your money on stuff that I want. Well, the question that most people would ask if they viewed it as their money, which they ought to in these cases, is what am I going to get for my money? So after the break, let's put you really under the gun here and go after you.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, let's take our news break at the bottom of the hour. You've been listening to News Talk 1090 WKBZ, the talk of Muskegon. We'll be right back.
Now back to Talkin' Muskegon on News Talk 1090 WKBZ. the talk of Muskegon.
So hanging in there, 40 degrees along the lakeshore. Going up to high of 45. Some showers developing a little later on this afternoon. And overnight tonight and into Thursday with some mostly cloudy skies and high of 41 tomorrow along the lakeshore. And Jeffrey Martin, the Dalton Township Supervisor, joins us this morning. We're talking about some interesting things about fire service, and you get a fire service millage coming up in August. That'll be on the August. Normally, August is kind of the primary date for elections. This year, off year for state and federal elections, but the only things that'll be happening elected official-wise will be city elections.
We have cities and townships on alternate years.
Yeah, so there'll be, I don't know if you've got people up this year for
we don't in the township, not for the
election.
elections.
So it'll be pretty much in Dalton Township, just a millage.
As far as I know, just the fire millage.
Maybe some other county millages that fly in there with the intermediate school district.
As far as I know, there's not one. I believe the schools have one that will cover our area in the May election.
In the May election, yeah, the Reese Buffer district, yeah. And so I mean, talking about moving to hire some more full-time employees. We had a little discussion off air about the kind of people that nowadays volunteer to be a volunteer fireman, because it's a hell of a time commitment.
It is.
I mean, it's not just going to a weekly meeting, and then going out for some beers afterwards. It's not a service club.
But this is not what we're talking about doing here. Because we want an increase, and the question that someone who is going to wrestle with, should I vote yes or no on this,
right,
is what am I going to get? Because if we're going to get volunteer firemen, well, then perhaps they would be less expensive than full-time unionized firemen. So why should I vote, again, for the second part, which is the increase? Because I have to pay. I've looked at my electric bill. It's gone up. My water bill's gone up. My insurance has gone up. Pretty much everything that I spend money on
has gone up.
So I'm not sitting around flush with extra cash. Why should I give you more of my money voluntarily? You take the effort to go vote and say, here, take more of my money in perpetuity, because I'm sure you'll request this again down the road. Why should I do that?
And I think that's an excellent question, because we aren't in a great economy, no matter what some larger politicians say. And the key piece with that is to keep this high quality level that we currently have at Dalton, right? Our response times are very good. We're going on 2-3 calls a day on average, and that happens within 6-7 minutes.
Wait, in Little Dalton, you're getting 2 and 3 calls every day?
Yes.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
And even, the county has been restructuring through central dispatch how some of the calls go out. And so that has actually decreased the calls some. And so that's really the debate is, do we go on less of these types of medical calls to lower the capacity so we can stay volunteer or paid on call? And I think that would be a disservice to the residents, because you're going to have people with maybe decently severe stuff waiting for quite a long time.
Right.
Okay, but specifically, you're going to do good things. Every one of these millage requests does say, we're going to do good things.
Right, yes, that's true.
But you're going to get extra money. Are you going to be hiring additional firemen? Are you going to give them more money, buy a new fire truck? What are you going to do with the extra money?
It's written up for operating, and this is to add full-time firefighters. So if we have firefighters right now that are paid on call and they want to quit their job and move up to full-time, we're willing to do that. And if we can't provide the 3, because we want 3 to run the shifts, then we can reach out and hire someone from outside of the organization as well.
Okay. Again, you're here selling the concept. You want people to vote for this, and you're providing the information, and you're answering our tough questions, I think, as to why this would make sense. I do support
the millage. I think more important than that is for the debate to happen through the community.
Sure. Well, see, to me, that is unique, because in many instances we've known that, in particular at the county level, but certainly in some municipalities, they'll sneak these millages in. So you didn't know it was going to be there. If you didn't, of course, the Chronicle doesn't have the information. You don't get the Chronicle at home, then the information isn't on the front page. You're taking an, I believe, a very honorable and unusual step in going out and saying, hey, look, we want more of your money, but here's our reason why.
Yes, and you get to choose, yes or no. That's the point of having it on the ballot. And I have seen millages go through like that, where they try to hold them at unusual times when most people don't know that they're happening. Now, August isn't, it's a regular election, but it's not. We're not going with like a major, like a governor election or anything like that. And so, but I'm hoping people turn out, and that's why I've been talking about it for over a year now, to let people know that this will be coming in the future. And I thought about going for it last year, but I didn't want to rush it because I want the talk to occur in the community.
I don't want to belabor the fact that I have utilized this service recently, but one thing that I did not realize when I had my accident and I was rescued by 2 fire departments at Hoffmaster Park was the component of fire rescue. I think many people who are knowledgeable about what's going on can say, hey, the way houses are built today and with codes and things of that sort, we just don't have the number of fires that we used to have. We're not concerned about a Great Chicago fire. So the fire portion of it is less numerous than it has certainly been in the past. But the rescue component is getting bigger and bigger. And
that's true.
And one of the things that was explained to me after when I was in the hospital was that the rescue component wasn't just people who have accidents in the middle of nowhere, or maybe even car accidents, which clearly the people have to be extricated from a vehicle. That takes expertise and certainly a lot of time. But you can have somebody who's had a heart attack who's on the 2nd floor of their home. Yes. Or on the 8th floor of an apartment building. It could be a very heavy person where they can't even get through the doors, and things of that kind of thing happen. And as Muskegon, and in particular, sadly, as Michigan has taken some steps to basically keep large companies from coming here and existing companies from expanding because of some of the votes they've just voted on this past week, our age of the population is going to be greater than in other states on average.
Yeah, I believe that's true.
And anyone who would want to live in Dalton would have to be old to want to do that.
I don't know about that. I'll push back on that one.
There we go. No, but the point is that, actually Dalton is rural, and Dalton is not an easy place to get to. Some of the people who may be in need of your services, of these fabulous services, may not have it available. So even though the population in the state of Michigan may continue for a second decade in a row to decrease, as it did the last decade, it's going to age, and old people fall down. And as I very embarrassingly said, I've fallen and I can't get up. Right. And the only way that I was going to get up was 2 fire departments that enabled that to happen. So
and again, the amount of training those people had to have, to get you out to find you first of all, and then to be able to put you in the burrito and get you down to an Argo that the Fruitport Township Fire Department bought a number of years ago, that a lot of other departments use on a regular basis, or they make available to other departments. And the training just to drive that and get that off of a trailer and get that down into a position where they could have picked you up. So there's a whole bunch of things that go on there that are talked about training and the individuals doing that and being available at that time.
Correct.
So if you get paid on call, or they
have to leave work, we have duty shifts. We rotate that to manage it right now.
Sure. So
there's another aspect which I think is really important, and that is that there are firemen who are trained in a particular way, but there are EMTs, and then there are paramedics, and then there's a bunch of other people out there.
Yes.
And let's talk about that difference, because I think it's important, because I met every one of them 4 months ago.
And you did. Let's take our last break of the day. You've been listening to News Talk 1090 WKBZ, the Talk of Muskegon. We'll be back.
Now, back to Talkin' Muskegon on News Talk 1090 WKBZ, the Talk of Muskegon.
And it's still 40 degrees at 52 minutes now past the hour. And just a couple of things. Muskegon High School was victorious last night in their quarterfinal match with the Big Red basketball team. They beat East Lansing 59-43. They will... next step is the semifinals on Friday, and they're playing Orchard Lake St. Mary's at 2 p.m. at the Breslin Center, and if they're victorious there, we'll go on to meet and be going for the state championship in Division I basketball. So we've got the Big Reds are in the Final Four for the Division One.
Is this going to be on TV anywhere?
Well, Saturday game will be. The division game will be on Saturday. It is on a pay-per-view basis on that High School Athletic Association website. Pay-per-view, you can get that as a live stream on the Friday game. So we'll keep you posted and remind you before Friday and maybe give some results over the next weekend. So that's pretty significant. Muskegon going for a Big Ten or a championship game, Division One. I didn't realize that they were still in Division One for basketball.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it is. There's 4 divisions in basketball, and Muskegon is still in Division One. So that's kind of interesting. So anyway, that's going on. A couple of other things going on today at noon at the Block in downtown Muskegon. That's the space that the West Michigan Symphony has above Unruly. Today is their brown bag lunch today with conductor Scott Speck, talking about their concert coming up this Friday called Chaplin Smiles. It's all about music that was used for background music of silent films. So it's a Charlie Chaplin kind of thing is the subject matter, and a lot of the music that's going to be played on Friday night will be discussed today at noon, and Scott Speck will be doing some little snippets of some of the music and talk about the composers and everything else. Free to the public if you want to go down there at noon today. Bring a brown bag lunch, and they do have some beverages available for purchase there. And sitting in the Block and listening to Scott Speck talk about this Friday's concert. So
I think
it's very good education. I've been to several of these things, and they're great. A lot of the guest performers will be in town already and rehearsing with the West Michigan Symphony in that same space. That's where they rehearse in the Block right above Unruly Brewing Company. And so it's a kind of a relaxed get down, just something else to do during your lunch hour. Just go and listen to some really good talk about classical music. I enjoyed doing that as well. And also at the Bear Lake Tavern tonight, a fundraiser for the Reese Puffer Grad Night coming up, and they're raising money for the Grad Night celebrations for the seniors at Reese Puffer High School. But the big fundraiser, the monthly fundraiser at the BLT, 4 o'clock this afternoon, they give proceeds to the Grad Night fundraiser at Bear Lake Tavern. So that's me on my walk schedule tonight for walking to the Bear Lake Tavern. So it's exactly 2 miles from Kathy's house to the front door of the Bear Lake Tavern.
Yeah, that's convenient.
And then she comes and picks me up. So anyway, hey, we've got Jeffrey Martin in the studio with us. And Jeffrey, appreciate your time to come out here and talk on the radio, and hopefully we get some Daltonistas out there. That was on the Reese Puffer School Board. So that was back in the days when the Half Moon Tavern was still there.
Yes. Now it's grown into a full moon.
Yeah, but we referred to the Half Moon as a Dalton Supper Club.
Yeah, that's true.
But now you really do have a supper club across the street of the Full Moon.
Oh, right.
I mean, a lot bigger menu.
Yes. And some of the stuff from the Half Moon.
Yeah, great entertainment out there, and great fish on Friday. I recommend
that is what they're known for.
Yeah. So anyway, some really good spots to eat in Dalton Township.
Yes,
but Dalton Township has some unique things firefighting wise too, as a lot of townships do. You've got main water distribution systems in a lot of the township, but you also have tanker trucks too that you maintain. That you don't see that in the City of Muskegon Fire Department. They don't operate tanker trucks to get water to the fire.
That's true. We really only have some water lines and some sewer lines, but it's in a very limited part of the township, along the southern portion along River Road and along the western portion along Whitehall Road. And so for most of the township, if we're going to a fire, the tanker trucks need to go so that we can have water. Yep.
And these are fairly complicated vehicles. I mean, have you ever seen them on static display for Fire Prevention Week or out at the county fairgrounds for Sportsmen for Youth or something like that? And you see these complicated machines. Just look at the side of those things and all the dials and gauges and everything else. You look at that and going, boy, I don't know.
Yeah, don't pull the wrong lever.
So it takes a significant amount of training to even operate those.
It does.
Those things. And so we're talking about a huge commitment in finding firefighters.
Yes. Yeah, and I mean, the coordination to run an operation like that, if you have trucks running, because if you have a huge fire, right? We had a bad fire at Los Lagos there in Twin Lake a couple of years ago now, and we had fire departments from the surrounding area, because you're having some fire trucks that are putting water on the fire itself. You have some firefighters going inside, and then you have some fire trucks running to locations to get water, to bring it back, to dump it, to get pumped onto the fire.
Quite a bit of coordination.
Yes.
And something that's it's got to happen. And we talked a little off air about the training levels of EMTs, and let's just briefly, we got about 2 minutes here, so briefly what the levels are.
So firefighters, by county policy and state law, are medical first responders.
Okay.
So that is the lowest level of medical training, but it's almost the same as EMT basic, right?
Okay,
a few minor differences. So you have EMT basic, and then above that you have EMT specialist. I did that training many years ago at Baker College, where you can basically put an IV in someone, intubate someone, that type of stuff. And then above that, you have EMT paramedic. So paramedic is a version of a medical, emergency medical technician. And then that's where you can get into very heavy and technical drugs and heart monitoring and those types of things.
Jeff, do they teach any of this stuff at the Career Tech Center? I mean, is this something that we ought to be pushing at Reese Buffer schools to get more kids involved? And
I think it'd be useful, especially on like the first aid level and some limited sections. I went to the Career Tech Center, but it's for marketing and accounting, and I can't remember if they had something like EMT. It doesn't seem like it, but I mean, those are useful things to know in the world, that's for sure.
Well, and very useful things and skills, and not just if you're going to be a firefighter, skills going forward.
Just as
whatever job you're going to have in the future. But maybe those are the kind of things we need to get young kids involved in and doing those kinds of things. And so, man, I wish you luck. We're running out of time here. And thank you for coming in this morning.
Yes, I appreciate you having me on.
Appreciate your time and being able to talk about these kinds of millages and maybe delve into what it really takes to make the people safe. And that's not just in Dalton Township, but everywhere. So we appreciate your time.
Thank you much.
Jim, we'll see you next Monday.
Monday,
and I'll be back tomorrow with Brian Worsham, and we'll be talking, tomorrow's Thursday, so we'll be talking Voyager hockey tomorrow with Terry Ficcarelli. Will be in with us tomorrow, and so it'll be a great day.